December 12th, 1910. New York City moves through another winter afternoon without hesitation. Carriages scrape across frozen stone streets. Storefront windows burn gold against the fading light of Fifth Avenue. Men in dark overcoats pass beneath clouds of steam rising from the pavement, while farther downtown, factory smoke settles over crowded tenement blocks, already disappearing into dusk. And in the middle of that city, a young woman steps out alone. Dorothy Arnold tells her mother she is going shopping for a dress. Her younger sister, Marjorie's debutante ball is coming up, and she needs something suitable. Nothing about the request sounds unusual. She slips $30 into her purse, charges her first two purchases to her father's account, and walks south into Manhattan. Witnesses later remember small details that seem painfully ordinary. Chocolates from a grocery on Fifth Avenue, a book of humorous essays from Brentano's bookstore, a brief conversation with a friend on the sidewalk, then nothing. No panic, no reported struggle, no moment anyone could point to afterward, just a sudden break in the record, as if the city quietly swallowed her between one block and the next. Over a century later, investigators still cannot explain how a woman disappeared in broad daylight, surrounded by thousands of people, without a single witness to the moment it happened. In 1910, New York City existed in a fragile balance between two worlds that rarely touched. Dorothy Arnold lived at 108 East 79th Street, on Manhattan's Upper East Side, where order was carefully maintained and everything appeared controlled. Tall brownstones lined quiet streets. Behind them, polished interiors and soft light created the impression of stability and permanence. Servants moved through hallways. Curtains stayed drawn against the winter cold. From the outside, nothing seemed out of place, but only a short distance away, the city changed completely. Overcrowded immigrant neighborhoods stretched for blocks beneath smoke and steam. Tenement buildings stood tightly packed, filled with families living in small, dim rooms. The streets were louder. Factory workers, vendors, horses, constant movement. Coal smoke hung low over everything. Wealth and poverty existed side by side, separated only by a few streets, sometimes a single turn. Dorothy Arnold lived in a world most people only observed from a distance. Her father, Francis Arnold, ran a successful perfume importing business. The family had deep roots, connected to the Mayflower, and with a sitting Supreme Court justice among her relatives. The Arnold name carried weight in New York society, and with it came expectations that did not need to be spoken aloud, because everyone already understood them. Dorothy graduated from Bryn Mawr College and came home wanting to write, not casually, not as a hobby, but seriously. She submitted short stories to major magazines. They were rejected. Her father found out and dismissed the ambition entirely. Writing was not suitable for someone in her position. What her family did not know was that Dorothy had quietly rented a private post office box. She used it to receive the rejection letters before they could reach the house. She was hiding her failures from her father, and hiding the fact that she kept trying. She had also asked her father directly to allow her to move out of the family home and live independently. He refused. There was also a man, George Griscom, Jr., a Philadelphia engineer in his 40s, 17 years her senior, and completely outside the family's idea of a suitable match. Dorothy had been seeing him privately for months. That September, she told her family she was visiting a girlfriend in Cambridge. She was actually with Griscom at a hotel in Boston for a week. By December 1910, Dorothy Arnold was living two separate lives. The pressure between them had been building for a long time. The morning of December 12th began like any other inside the Arnold home. Dorothy told her mother she was going out alone to shop for a dress for Marjorie's debutante ball. She asked her sister to come. Her sister was tired and declined. Dorothy left just before noon, which was not unusual. She stepped outside into the cold and walked south. She carried $30 in cash and wore clothes appropriate for Fifth Avenue. She left her jewels and everything else at home. In a city of 4.5 million people, she was simply another figure moving through it. It was the last time she moved through it freely. Her last known afternoon has been reconstructed from a handful of witnesses who had no particular reason to watch her closely. She stopped at Park and Tilford on Fifth Avenue and bought a half-pound box of chocolates, charging it to her father's account. She walked 32 blocks south to Brentano's bookstore and purchased a collection of short stories called Engaged Girl Sketches, also charged to her father's account. The clerk remembered her as calm, well-dressed, and entirely unremarkable in behavior. Outside the bookstore, she ran into a friend. They spoke briefly. Dorothy mentioned she was planning to walk home through Central Park. They separated. That is the last confirmed sighting. After that conversation, the record ends. No verified witness places her anywhere again. At first, her absence did not cause alarm. Delays in a city like New York were common enough, but hours passed. Dinner came and went. Her mother began glancing toward the door. At first casually, then repeatedly. Each sound outside raised expectation briefly, and then settled back into silence. Midnight passed. Still nothing. By morning, concern had replaced uncertainty. Something was wrong. The family did not go to the police. Instead, Frances Arnold quietly commissioned 2 private investigations, one through a family friend named John S. Keith, and one through the Pinkerton Detective Agency, the most prominent private investigators in the country. Questions were asked discreetly, shops were revisited, clerks questioned, carriage drivers questioned, answers did not come, and with each passing day, memory weakened, and the trail collapsed further under the weight of time. 6 weeks passed before the family filed a missing persons report with the New York City Police Department. By then, whatever could have been known in the immediate hours and days after December 12th was already gone. As the investigation continued, the private details of Dorothy's life began surfacing. The secret post office box, the rejected manuscripts, the relationship with Griscom, the week in Boston her family knew nothing about. Each detail raised new questions. Was she planning to leave permanently? Had she staged her disappearance? Or did something happen in the narrow gap between that sidewalk conversation and nightfall? Theories formed quickly. Accident, foul play, elopement, a botched abortion. Every theory reached the same wall. No body, no witness to the critical moment, no evidence pointing clearly in any direction. By early 1911, newspapers had seized the story. A wealthy heiress vanished in broad daylight on Fifth Avenue. The headlines spread across New York and eventually across the country and into Europe. Her photograph was published everywhere. A public reward was offered. Nothing came of it. Police retraced steps already gone cold. Hotels, hospitals, train stations, boarding houses. Names checked, records reviewed, rooms searched. Her father privately believed she had been murdered and her body disposed of in one of the Central Park reservoirs. Investigators searched. They found nothing. Then, in 1921, a decade after she vanished, New York City Police Department Captain John H. Ayers made a public announcement that stopped people cold. He stated the case had been solved and that Dorothy Arnold was no longer considered a missing person. When pressed for any detail whatsoever, Ayers refused to elaborate. The Arnold family was blindsided and furious. Within days, Ayers walked the statement back entirely, claiming he had only meant the family may have resolved the matter privately. No explanation was ever given for why he said it in the first place. Dorothy's parents both died in the 1920s without ever knowing what happened to their daughter. The case was never formally closed with any conclusion. Today it remains the oldest active missing person case in New York City history, listed in the Charlie Project database of more than 15,000 unsolved disappearances. No confirmed explanation, no recovered evidence, no final answer. Just a woman who walked out onto Fifth Avenue on a Monday morning in December, bought chocolates, bought a book, said goodbye to a friend on the sidewalk, and at some point between that conversation and nightfall ceased to exist in the public record. The moment it happened, nobody saw. Nobody has been able to reconstruct it since. If you want more forgotten cases like this, subscribe and join me as we dig into the stories history refused to finish.